Hi everyone, this is Priya Vashni and I welcome you all to the next part of this video. So in the previous video we had covered that was actually the foundational video for Thomas Hobbes, who is one of the most important Western political thinker, and this is going to be the second foundational video. So after these two videos you will have a good foundation of this thinker, and you will be able to build upon that foundation, right? Okay. So first of all, let's just recap, right? Just right. So first of all, let's just recap what we had actually covered in our previous video. So as I have always said that every thinker is a product of the circumstances that he faced, or you can say that every thinker is a child of his times, right? Why I have always said this? Because the thoughts and the thinking process of the thinker actually is determined by the experiences that has actually molded those thoughts, right? So in the previous video we have actually discovered that who were who was Thomas Hobbes, where did he belong to. So he actually belonged to the Britain, and he had seen the era of Puritan revolution, right? And there was so much chaos in that era that the main issue, or you can say that the main threat, was to the life itself. So the main cause of the main concern of Thomas Hobbes was the protection of the life of the individual. So we have also seen in that video that why Thomas Hobbes is being called the greatest of all individualists, right? So if you have not seen that video, I would request you to please see that video, because that is one of the foundational video for you. Okay, so I will not get into the detail of those things because I've already covered those in that video. What we are going to cover today is we are going to understand the thoughts of Thomas Hobbes on state, why his concept of social contract, and we will understand his methodology in the next video, right? Okay, so let us start. But before that, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, then I would request you to please subscribe to the channel. This will help me to to remain motivated to create such a content. Thanks a lot. Okay, so first of all, let us understand that what is the function of a state according to Thomas Hobbes, right? So as I have already told you that the biggest concern of Thomas Hobbes was regarding the protection of the life of the individual, because in such an era where there were wars, where there was a revolution, the main threat was to the life of the individual. And for Thomas Hobbes, the life of the individual is so sacred that he had also given the right to self-defense in order to safeguard that right to life. So in the previous video we have seen that to what extent Thomas Hobbes have gone in order to protect the life. He has said that it is also allowed for an individual to take the life of others in if there is a threat to his life, right? So there we had learnt about the uh, you can say his concept of the right to self-defense, right? So keeping that in mind, keeping the concept that the right to life is sacred for Thomas Hobbes, let us now understand that what is the function of the state according to Hobbes, right? Because ultimately what state is not an organic thing for the Hobbes. According to Hobbes, state is something which is required for the protection of the individuals, right? So first of all, let me tell you that according to Hobbes, the most important purpose for which this state exists is the preservation of life, right? Because for Hobbes, the right to life is the most sacred thing, right? Now, just think about it, that Thomas Hobbes is actually creating that state, that entity named as state, mainly for the sake of the preservation of life, right? So according to Hobbes, preservation of the life is the topmost, you can say, is the topmost responsibility or topmost goal of the state. Is it clear? Now just imagine that, just now just imagine that what will happen if that state fails to protect the life. तो मारियो गेम आपने जरूर बचपन में खेला होगा, एंड यहाँ पे क्या होता था कि जो आप खेल रहा है, जो बंदा उसको कंट्रोल कर रहा है, उसके हाथ में होती थी उस मारियो की लाइफ को प्रोटेक्ट करना, राइट? Similarly, as per Hobbes, state, if he has actually given the responsibility of protection of life to the state, now what will happen if the state fail to protect that life? So according to Hobbes, the state which cannot protect the life is a failed state, is a failed state. Why? Because आपको बनाया ही इसीलिए गया था, so that you can protect the life of the individuals. Now if you are not able to protect the life individuals, or if the state itself start taking lives of the individuals, then it is a failed state, number one. Number two, what Hobbes says is that in case state itself start taking life of the people, then people will have the right to resist the state, right? So if it is not able to protect your life, then it is a failed state, number one. Number two, in case it start taking your life, then also Hobbes is giving the power in the hands of the people, that you have the right to resist the state. Is it clear to you? Okay. Next thing, Hobbes is usually known as the greatest of all absolutists. Now you will ask, who is absolutist, right? So absolutist is one who gives absolute power to the state. If we will understand it in context of the politics, or you can say Western political thought, then absolutist person who gives absolute powers to the state. Now, what does this mean? What do you mean by giving absolute power to the state? See, according to Hobbes, state is sovereign. Right? State is sovereign. What does this implies? This implies that there is no other association or no other thing who is above than the state. Right? Not even the church at that time, because we all know that in that time there was a kind of, you can say, church used to have a very dominant position. But what Hobbes said was that state is going to be the supreme, state is going to be the sovereign, which implies that no other association, even the church, will have the power over the state. So this is one of the reasons why Hobbes was even prohibited by the church, right? So when he says that state is sovereign or no other association is over the state, this also implies that man will have the liberty only where law is silent. Now, what does this mean? See, the moment Hobbes make the state as sovereign, he actually gives the almost ultimate powers in the hands of the state, right? Rather than only one power which is not with the state, is to take lives of the people, because this is the reason why state had been created, right? So state has ultimate powers, and how that state will be able to execute those powers, it will be through the laws, right? So state will be making some laws which will be governing the people, right? Now, according to Hobbes, when he says that uh, state is absolute, this means that person has to obey the laws which had been created by the state, right? यानी कि इंसान को लिबर्टी कितनी है? Man has the liberty only where the law is silent. Means the man is free only to the extent the state has permitted him to be free by not making the law of, right? यानी कि if the state has made the law, man has to act according to the law. This is as simple as that, right? Okay. Now the question arises, if this man, sorry, it's okay that state has created the law, but what if man doesn't obey the law? So just look at the Anil Kapoor. What he will be doing is he is actually वो मुर्गा बन रहा है, मीन्स कहीं ना कहीं he had been punished. So similarly what Hobbes says is, अगर इंसान ने, see, वो कहते हैं कि state is having the absolute powers, and he has also said that man has liberty only where the law is silent. यानी कि जहाँ पे law है, जिस चीज के लिए law बना हुआ है, and अगर man उसको obey नहीं कर रहे हैं, then what will happen? Then obviously the state will have the right to punish the man. Is it clear? State will be having the right to punish. Right? Okay. Now the question arises, why it is important to punish the lawbreaker according to Hobbes. So he actually gives two reasons. First reason is that if one person doesn't follow the law, others will also tend to not follow the law. For example, it is usually said that children actually copy their parents or their elders. Means कहा जाता है कि बच्चे बड़ों से सीखते हैं, राइट? दे लर्न फ्रॉम द एल्डर्स. तो अगर बड़े ही गलती कर रहे होंगे तो बच्चे अपने आप करेंगे. सिमिलरली जस्ट इमेजिन अ सिचुएशन कि अगर एक बंदे ने क्राइम किया और वो फ्री है, मतलब ही डजंट हैव अ सेंस ऑफ फियर इन हिज माइंड कि अगर मैंने क्राइम किया तो मुझे पनिशमेंट मिल सकता है या फिर मैं जेल जा सकता हूँ एक्सेट्रा. तो वो क्या है कि वो फ्री होके क्राइम कर रहा है. तो दूसरा बंदा जो हो सकता है उसका नेचुरल टेंडेंसी ना हो क्राइम करने का भी, बट उसके माइंड में एक चीज आएगी कि अगर मैंने क्राइम किया भी तो भी मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. ऐसे करते करते धीरे धीरे क्राइम इतना बढ़ जाएगा दैट इट विल रिजल्ट इन द chaos, right? So according to Hobbes, if one person doesn't follow the law, others will also tend to not follow the law, and it will result in the chaos. And this is the first reason why the lawbreaker should be punished, because it is very important for the state to have a peace in there, right? So first responsibility of the state is to maintain the stability of the state, right? Now what is the second reason? आप सोचेंगे सी हंसा बहन क्या कह रही है, दैट सबको सब कुछ समझाना पड़ता है यार. इट्स ओके, बट आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू द सेकंड रीजन एज वेल. सी सेकंड रीजन व्हाट Hobbes is giving is, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लुक एट हिम, ही इज द शक्तिमान. शक्तिमान से क्या मतलब होता था? शक्तिमान इज अ पर्सन हु डिनोट्स द पावर्स, कि उसके पास बहुत सारी पावर्स होती थी थ्रू विच ही कैन हेल्प अदर्स, राइट? तो व्हाट थॉमस हॉब्स सेज इज, देखिए अभी हमने थोड़ी देर पहले देखा था दैट अकॉर्डिंग टू थॉमस हॉब्स ही his state is actually the absolute state, or you can say that he is actually giving the absolute powers to the state. And he has also said that state was sovereign. State was sovereign means that no other association can be over the state, right? Now, just imagine that if a person is doesn't obey the law. So, according to Hobbes, when a person is not obeying the law, it also implies that he claims himself to be sovereign. वो कहेगा कि मैं लॉ नहीं मानूंगा बिकॉज मैं शक्तिमान, राइट? सो बट अकॉर्डिंग टू हॉब्स ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. एक टेरिटरी के अंदर देयर कैन नॉट बी मोर देन वन सॉवरेन, राइट? सो ये एक दिस इज वन ऑफ द रीजन जिसकी वजह से अकॉर्डिंग टू हॉब्स अ लॉ ब्रेकर शुड बी पनिश्ड. आई होप दिस इज क्लियर टू यू. Now, there is one of the important point that you should note is that जो Hobbes absolutism is not for the sake of absolutism, but for the sake of the protection of individuals. मतलब ये कि जो हम बार बार देख रहे हैं कि Hobbes is giving the absolute powers to the state, वो इसलिए नहीं क्योंकि वो स्टेट को बहुत शक्तिशाली बनाना चाहता है या फिर वो स्टेट को एक डेरोगेटरी टाइप एक्सप्लॉइटेटिव टाइप बनाना चाहते हैं, बल्कि वो इतनी सारी पावर्स स्टेट को इसलिए दे रहे हैं क्योंकि स्टेट एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी प्ले कर रही है, विच इज द प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ लाइफ ऑफ द सिटीजन्स, राइट? एंड क्योंकि ये इतनी बड़ी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, इसको निभाने के लिए स्टेट को कुछ राइट्स देने बहुत ज़रूरी है, इसीलिए वो उनको ये आपके जो इम्पोर्टेंट राइट्स हैं वो दे रहे हैं, राइट? सो दिस इज समथिंग विच यू शुड कीप अ नोट ऑफ, राइट? ओके, नाउ द सेकेंड थिंग इज Hobbes lays the foundation of utilitarianism. Now you will ask me, what is utilitarianism? See, utilitarianism is also known as hedonism. Also known as hedonism. Now, what does this mean? This means that a person, a man, right? A person, a human being, always wants to seek pleasure and he always wants to avoid the pain. ये just imagine like that. ये बहुत नॉर्मल टेंडेंसी होती है कि हर इंसान प्लेजर सीख करता है, राइट? हर इंसान खुशियां सीख कर रहा होता है. कोई भी बंदा दर्द नहीं चाहता, कोई भी बंदा पेन नहीं चाहता, राइट? ये बहुत नेचुरल टेंडेंसी होती है. एंड यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म का मतलब मैटेरियलिज्म भी होता है, मतलब, एंड मैटेरियलिज्म इज बेसिकली द फिलोसफी ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म. It is the philosophy of capitalism. So, let me tell you one more thing about Hobbes here. See, Hobbes is basically considered as one of the most important thinker to understand the principles of modern political life, right? Modern political life. Now, what are the principles of modern political life? See, the most defining feature of the modern state is the sovereignty. Okay? So, Hobbes was the first person to give the complete theory of sovereignty. And when I say sovereignty, sovereignty actually implies the supreme power, as I have already told you as well. And it is a concept of modern times, right? Now, what is the implication of this term? See, sovereignty means supreme authority to make laws and to enforce law, right? Supreme authority to make law and to enforce law. And as we have seen that Hobbes is giving this supreme authority to the state, and that's why we saw that he says that man has liberty only where law is silent, right? Now, why I have highlighted all this in this slide? See, why the need for this sovereignty and why the need for the, you can say, why the need arose so to make state a sovereign state. See, number one, In medieval times it was not clear. See, we all know that in medieval times authority was divided because there was a federal system kind of, and because it was federal system, it was not clear who is supreme or whose law will prevail or who will have the last word. And this actually led to the state of confusion. Hence, there was a need to establish an institution which will be considered as supreme with respect to law, right? And we all know that in the modern times, there was the rise of capitalism, right? Right. So, since there was a rise of capitalism, capitalism is what? Capitalism, you can even say that it was a kind of business. And business होता क्या है? Business is just like a contract between two entities. आप मुझे इतना दीजिए, उसके बदले में मैं आपको ये दूंगा, right? Whenever you buy a Maggie from the store, what you do is you actually pays the price of the Maggie, and in return of that price, the individual will give you the Maggie. Though you are not actually signing a contract for that, but it is obvious that एक जो यू कैन से एक इनबिल्ट है एक काइंड ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वहां पे कि एक चीज का प्राइस इतना है, यू आर गिविंग दैट प्राइस एंड इन टर्न यू आर getting something, right? So since there was a rise of capitalism, it actually implies the rise of materialism, राइट? और मैटेरियलिज्म या यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म का पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट है, इट इज बेस्ड अपॉन द टू टर्म्स pleasure and the pain, and it is actually said that it is the very natural instinct of a person that he is always you can say inclined towards getting more and more pleasure, and he always wants to avoid the pain, he or she, right? Okay. So this is what it means. So since pleasure and pains are individualistic experiences, that's why Hobbes is also known as the greatest of all individualists. This is something which I had covered in my previous video. Now, so in the previous slide, I have actually made the foundation for you for this term social contract. So Hobbes belonged to the tradition of social contract. Now, before understanding this tradition of social contract, you need to understand what is a social contract. See, it is basically a concept which is based upon capitalism. Which is based upon capitalism. Right? What Hobbes says is, if economy in capitalism runs by a contract, as I have said that यूजुअली क्या आता है, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है, राइट, विद बिटवीन द बिजनेसमैन एक्सेट्रा. तो अगर इकोनॉमी आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के थ्रू चल रही है, देन अकॉर्डिंग टू हॉब्स, सोसाइटी एंड गवर्नमेंट is also based on the concept of contract. Now the question is, what does the word contract symbolize? According to Hobbes, state and society are not natural, right? They are not natural. Then if they are not natural, then why they have been created? This means that they are not natural but are the result of the contract among people. वो क्या कहते हैं कि भाई केओस मचा हुआ है, लोगों की जिंदगी को खतरा है, तो क्या होता है, सारे लोग इकट्ठे होते हैं, सब लोग कहते हैं कि भाई हमारे लिए सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट हमारी जिंदगी है, चलो एक काम करते हैं, एक ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशन क्रिएट करते हैं, एक साइन करते हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को कि भैया उसकी जिम्मेदारी होगी हमारी जिंदगी की प्रोटेक्शन करना, एंड हम लोग क्या करेंगे, वी विल ओबे दैट इंस्टीट्यूशन बिकॉज वो काम कर रहा है जो शायद हम लोग अकेले नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, राइट? सो दिस इज व्हाट द फिलोसफी ऑफ द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट of Thomas Hobbes. So according to So basically this contract actually symbolizes that state and society are not natural, they are the result of the contract among people. So this is kind of the mechanistic. You should note down these words. These are actually the keywords. Mechanistic, mechanistic view of the state, right? In opposite to the organic view of the state, जो आपका एरिस्टोटल प्लेटो वगैरह ने दिया, right? So what actually implies by this mechanistic view? See, जब भी आप किसी को machine term से बुलाते हैं, right? So we actually undermine that institution. So according to Thomas Hobbes, the state is actually a machine, or you can say the state is actually a means to the ends of a man. Just a minute, I will just um, according to Thomas Hobbes, a state is actually the means to the ends of man. Now, what is the end of the man? The end of the man is the attainment of happiness, because we have just seen that according to Hobbes, man is a pleasure-seeking animal, right? Man is a pleasure-seeking entity. So it means that state is the institution of utility. And ये काम की चीज है. It is an institution of utility, but it is not something which is organic. It is not something which has been there already. It came into existence via a contract among the people, right? So the purpose of the state. So just look at this slide and understand. See, the state is the means to the ends of the man, and what are the ends of the man is the attainment of the happiness. तो आखिरकार स्टेट का फंक्शन क्या होगा? स्टेट का फंक्शन होगा इस हैप्पीनेस को जितना ज्यादा इंक्रीज कर सकती है फॉर द सिटीजन, उतना ज्यादा इंक्रीज करना, और जितना ज्यादा पेन को डिक्रीज कर सकते हैं उतना ज्यादा पेन को डिक्रीज करना शुड बी द फंक्शन ऑफ द स्टेट, राइट? Is it clear to you? Right? Okay. See, we will understand the complete methodology of Thomas Hobbes in the next video. Otherwise, this would be very lengthy video. So I'll cover that in the next video. But before that, let us understand some basic concepts about the method of the social contract. Okay? So the social contract is also a methodology to evolve the political theory. So this method actually consists of the following steps. Number one step is the description of the human nature. We all know कि इसकी शुरुआत कहाँ से हुई. शुरुआत हो रही है लोगों के अंदर उस डर से, लोगों के, और हम लोग देख रहे हैं बार बार कि वो क्या नेचर बता रहे हैं. ह्यूमन नेचर प्लेजर सीकिंग है, पेन अवॉइडिंग है, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. तो सबसे पहली बात तो ये है कि ह्यूमन नेचर को डिफाइन करिए. यू जस्ट डिफाइन द ह्यूमन नेचर, दैट व्हाट काइंड ऑफ इट इज एंड व्हाट आर इट्स वीकनेस, व्हाट आर इट्स स्ट्रेंथ्स, एंड अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में आएगा भी तो क्यों आएगा ना, उसके लिए पहले समझना पड़ेगा. सेकेंड वो कहते हैं स्टेट ऑफ नेचर. See, what does this mean? See, state of nature is a hypothetical concept. Just a minute. Hypothetical concept. Now, what does this mean? It actually shows that the life of man means स्टेट ऑफ नेचर क्या हुआ. सबसे पहले ये समझिए कि नेचुरल जो नेचर है उसमें उस स्टेट की बात हो रही है. तो व्हाट थॉमस हॉब्स इज सेइंग इज दैट अगर इंसान को स्टेट के बिना इस स्टेट ऑफ नेचर में छोड़ दिया जाए रहने के लिए, ठीक है, तो अकॉर्डिंग टू थॉमस हॉब्स कि अगर हम स्टेट को ना बनाए, ठीक है, अगर हम स्टेट को ना बनाए और इंसान को छोड़ दें कि भैया बिना स्टेट के आप नेचुरली जैसे जो स्टेट ऑफ नेचर है आप वैसे रहिए, अकॉर्डिंग टू हॉब्स इट इज बाउंड, इट इज सर्टेन कि इस स्टेट ऑफ नेचर में बहुत सारी ऐसी प्रॉब्लम्स होंगी राइट, जो कि वो मैन फेस करेगा। और इन्हीं प्रॉब्लम्स के निवारण के लिए, यू कैन से, इन order to solve these problems, the man will enter into the contract with each other to form the state. यानी कि बेसिकली वो कहना चाहते हैं कि स्टेट ऑफ नेचर इज नॉट एक्चुअली सफिशिएंट टू फुलफिल द बेसिक नीड्स of the individual. That's why, only because of the problems which the individuals are facing in the state of nature, they are bound to get into the contract and they are bound to create the state, right? And the third important thing is the process of contract, because this process of contract will determine the terms, conditions, obligation, liabilities of the parties. See, अभी आप सोचिए कि दो लोगों के बीच में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो रहा है, एक स्टेट है, एक सिटीजन है, ठीक है। अब स्टेट की हम लोगों ने रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हम डिफाइन कर रहे हैं, एक तरीके से उसकी ऑब्लिगेशन डिफाइन कर रहे हैं कि भैया योर टॉप मोस्ट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज टू प्रोटेक्ट द लाइव्स ऑफ द सिटीजन्स, राइट। उसके बदले में जो सिटीजन्स इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में आके स्टेट को क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, दे आर एक्चुअली गिविंग देम द पावर, और कहीं ना कहीं वो अपनी जो ऑटोनॉमी है उसको रिड्यूस कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज अब उनके पास लिबर्टी सिर्फ वहां पे होगी जहाँ पे लॉ साइलेंट है। अभी तक वो फ्री थे कुछ भी करने के लिए, बट अब वो फ्री नहीं होंगे, तो कहीं ना कहीं दे आर एक्चुअली डिक्रीजिंग द लिबर्टी दे हैड, एंड इन टर्न ऑफ दैट वो वहां पे उन स्टेट को पावर्स दे रहे हैं, क्योंकि स्टेट और एक प्रॉमिस कर रहे हैं कि हम आपको ओबे करेंगे, काइंड ऑफ, समझ रहे हो। तो ये सारी चीजें होती है, तो पूरा का पूरा सबसे पहले हम क्या करते हैं, सबसे पहले नेचर को समझा जाता है, ह्यूमन नेचर को। फिर देखा जाता है कि अगर ये ह्यूमन नेचर है और अगर ये इस तरह के नेचर के साथ स्टेट ऑफ नेचर में रहा जाएगा तो किस तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स ह्यूमंस फेस करेंगे, एंड अगर वो प्रॉब्लम्स फेस कर रहे हैं तो उसके सॉल्यूशन के लिए ही काइंड ऑफ ये डिसाइड होता है कि देयर शुड बी एन इंस्टीट्यूशन फॉर दैट, जो कि उस तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स को उनके लिए कैटर कर सके। और इस तरह के इंस्टीट्यूशन को बनाने के लिए फिर एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया जाता है, जिसके अंदर वेरियस आपके जो टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस है वो लिखी जाती है, राइट। Okay, so this is all in this video, right? So in the next video we are going to cover the methodology of Thomas Hobbes पूरी की पूरी। Basically he has actually adopted a scientific methodology, वो हम पूरा देखेंगे। So अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आई हो, then please don't forget to like and share that video, and if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel. See ya, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.